Hi, Pat Morrissey is my name. I'm a GP. I've been working here in Adair since 2004. I entered medicine and general practice specifically because I saw it was a good fit for my personality. I enjoy interacting with people, I enjoy the challenge of the job, I enjoy being part of a community and doing the best that I can to develop my own local area. I'm patriotic, I am a proud Limerick man as well, and I am delighted to be an important part of this community here in Adair. With the advent of COVID, I was horrified and shocked by the scenes in Bergamo and Madrid, as everyone else was. I took to researching how COVID was being managed in other countries. I listened to the authorities in this country, and I did my best to adopt the policies and the protocols that I felt would best protect my patients. In my reading, I learned about the efficacy of hydroxychloroquine, and I saw how other countries, specifically Sweden, were managing COVID in their jurisdictions. We were asked to flatten the curve, and I did everything that I could to help in this effort, including putting myself forward as a clinical lead for the first COVID hub in the Midwest area. I acted as a coordinator and I helped recruit and roster doctors in this facility. And I saw the hard end of COVID. The patients that we saw there were of all ages, and some were quite sick, but many of them were relatively okay, but very worried about being sick with COVID. I was frustrated by my work in the hub because I saw that there was an opportunity being missed to treat some of these identifiable vulnerable patients at an earlier stage in their illness. And I was sending them on to hospital, and I didn't know what happened to them after they left me. So I used the knowledge that I had to treat the patients that I had in my own practice and offer them the treatments that I knew would work to help them if they contracted COVID. And I operate in a practice where we do have good relationships with our patients and a good trust, and this is the ideal place to offer this treatment to patients. What started to concern me was the singular focus on COVID, the exclusion of all other health issues. I began to see, as time went by, more and more patients presenting with mental health issues, with deteriorating health due to inactivity. My older patients were presenting with what we would call deconditioning or increasing frailty, increasing falls. And these issues were not attended to at all in terms of the planning and the strategizing by NPHET. As well as this, I had increasing difficulties trying to work up patients in relation to cancer diagnosis and heart disease and diabetes. And these issues, as we all know, are quite serious. And even though there is a timeline that we can operate in relation to these, especially in relation to cancer, if things aren't caught early, it will result in worse outcomes. And there's modelling, I saw the modelling done in the UK that showed that there's something like 35,000 cancer diagnoses have been missed due to their lockdown. And I don't know if the modelling has been done here in Ireland, but I'm sure that somebody, someplace has done it. And why is that not being talked about? Why is that not being dealt with? Why are the screening programs not operating at the level that they were operating at before? This upset me and made me concerned that our strategy wasn't holistic enough to look after the whole population. There's much more to health than just COVID. An opportunity arose for me to speak at the Health Freedom Ireland rally in Dublin on October the 3rd. I was very happy to take part as I was showing solidarity with my colleague Marcus de Bruin. It also gave me an opportunity to talk about the issues that were concerning me in regarding to our national policy to managing this crisis. And I wanted to raise the issues that I saw were important, because I felt that these issues weren't being discussed in the proper fora. And at least up in Dublin, with the crowd, a mic and speakers, I had an opportunity to say these things and be heard.
Ireland underneath its fear-mongering propaganda is getting sicker by the day. I am asking for courage in those with integrity, if there's any left, in the media and the Oireachtas, because there's a better path for Ireland, a path that promotes all aspects of health and not just the absence of one disease. Thank you very much.
After I spoke at the rally, there was a storm of retribution against me. I had worked out some of the scenarios beforehand, and I realised that my position in Shannondock, the local out-of-hours cooperative, was probably going to be untenable. What shocked me, however, was the speed at which they wanted to remove me, and the fact that I was removed from the board entirely as well. I had been a loyal servant to this organisation for 6 years, and even though some members of the board contacted me subsequently, many were silent. And I suppose something like this helps you to understand where you really stand and who your friends are and who your enemies are. Although maybe I shouldn't characterize them as enemies. I suppose people who are not on the same page in terms of what's going on here. You know, there's a lot more than just a virus. And even if it was just a virus, the reaction to it is exaggerated and out of proportion. As I made the point at the rally in relation to TB, we've gone through bigger public health issues here in Ireland in the past, and we haven't crashed our economy and crushed our society to fight these challenges. So I think people have lost a sense of perspective. They're buying into a narrative that's too packaged and controlled, and there isn't enough independent thinking. I'm just asking for people to have a debate, look at the evidence on a wider context, and maybe we can come to a better solution. This is what I'm asking for. I'm not alone in struggling to find the truth about this virus and our reaction to it. It has been quite heartening since the rally and speaking out there that I've come in contact with a group of doctors who are also questioning the NPHET narrative. This group of doctors, we've come together, we've written a letter to the Department of Health and the Taoiseach, and there are other doctors who, even though they don't have the confidence yet to put their name to a letter, are linking with us, and this is nationwide. So I feel that I have made an impact, and this has been quite heartening that we are finally beginning to open this thing up and have this discussion. And there are people in the media and in other disciplines, there's economists that have spoken as well for a counter-lockdown narrative. And I think that this can only be good to have a broader discussion, and this way we can get at the truth and find a better path for Ireland. This latest lockdown strategy is destined to failure. It has no long-term strategy in mind except the prospect of a vaccine that doesn't yet exist. Why can't we look at countries like Sweden and the state of Florida that have done away with lockdowns? Everybody knows about Sweden, although they sometimes form opinions that are not really based on fact. People say that they have had excess deaths greater than what we've had in Ireland, but they don't compare like with like. Sweden has a much older population, and when you do compare and contrast the demographics, they have done just as well as us without suffering any of the economic cost and damage that we have here. At the same time, their children have been at school, people have been working, people have been able to pay their bills, people have been able to socialise, play sport, and this it now results in a country that has the lowest rate of COVID in Europe. This is an undeniable fact. My approach to bring this crisis to an end would be for NPHET to reappraise their strategy to lockdowns. We need to take a more holistic view of health in this country. We are ignoring too many facets of health, from cancer to chronic disease to the mental health tsunami that's hitting us at the moment. These factors need to be brought into the equation. We can see the success of Sweden. We can see the success of the state of Florida. That's 1 month into a cessation of their lockdown measures. They are a perfect example in that they had lockdown measures and they quashed them a month ago, and there has been no spike in cases. I'm talking about facts. I'm not talking about speculation that this might happen or this could happen. Let's look at what's going on in other parts of the world. We don't have to keep banging our head off the wall. I'm hoping that by my stance in speaking out about COVID and how we are managing this crisis, that we will have a more open conversation that will adopt a better strategy for all of us. My family, my children, the wider public, my community, we deserve to get back the freedoms that we had only so recently. I'm especially thinking about my 3 teenage boys, and I think of what I was like when I was their age and the things that I used to do. So they deserve to have a youth. They deserve to make mistakes, fall in love, meet up with their friends. These things, they might seem minor, but they are really important in forming young people. And I want my children to have the same opportunities that I had. And I want them to live in a world that's free and positive and open, so we can achieve our potential.